Day 3 at the 2025 Wimbledon Championships wasn't quite as brutal as day 1 or day 2 in regards to the seeds losing, but even today we saw some big upsets. For example, last year's finalist Paulini losing to Rakimova in the second round. This is a brutal loss, but I think the fact that Paulini this year won Rome makes her season a spectacular one. That's such an important title for her, being an Italian. So it was a lot of pressure, of course, to defend the final points, not only at Wimbledon, but also at Roland Garros. So not surprising that she couldn't defend those points. But like I said, the fact that she won a WTA 1000, she's still going to be ranked in the top 10. And I think now a lot of the pressure has fallen off and she can try to perform really well for the rest of the year. Now, on the men's side, a very surprising result. Bellucci beating Lehechka, who I had going into the quarterfinals. That's a very interesting result for me because I regard Lehechka to be one of the best grass court players in the world. And Bellucci, I see more as someone who plays better on slower surfaces. But after watching this match, Bellucci is a fantastic player, a very dangerous lefty who's highly capable of performing on grass, or he wouldn't find himself in the third round. And the next match I'm going to talk about is Brooksby against Fonseca. And speaking of the draw opening up, I think the draw opened up for Fonseca as well. He has a makeable path to the quarterfinals, so maybe this will be the breakthrough of Fonseca at the Grand Slam level. A lot of his fans are going to be very excited if that happens, because Fonseca, after beating Brooksby, plays Jarry next, who's playing a lot better. He took out Rune in 5 sets and he absolutely destroyed Tien. So of course this will be a tough match for Fonseca, but I think he's got a good chance to win that one and also to win the 4th round against the winner of Nori and Bellucci. Now, a couple of days ago I analyzed the Brooksby serve, and I want to let you know that Brooksby went back to his old serve. And it's not only that, he also added a pinpoint stance to his serve. Now, in that video, thankfully, I analyzed the old Brooksby serve. So about 80% of my analysis dealt with the old Brooksby serve, because that temporary serve that he had in those grass court tournaments prior to Wimbledon, where he started Jay Berger style between his shoulder and his neck, and he would take the racket from here into the trophy phase and he would bend his body while the racket was going here. I assumed that this was done because of a shoulder problem, and there was a chance that he would go back to his old serve, which I explained in this video was not as good as it could be for his height. Now, I'm glad to see that Brooksby is experimenting with different techniques, and when it comes to platform versus pinpoint on the serve, while this is a stylistic element of the serve, there is no right or wrong. If you perform a pinpoint stance serve, you will get a little bit more forward momentum and there's a chance that you will get more power. Now, this is only if you execute the pinpoint stance correctly. This is not as easy as it looks. Some players don't perform the pinpoint stance serve with the proper timing, and they actually get less power on the pinpoint versus the platform. But as I said, if you execute the pinpoint stance with good timing and good rhythm, this can add some power to your serve. And I do think that Brooksby's serve looked a lot better at Wimbledon. And I'm a big Brooksby fan. And let me tell you why. This guy brings a lot of energy to the court. If you watch him play, he pumps himself up. He's a high energy player. And another reason why I love watching Brooksby play is that he doesn't play like everyone else. You will sometimes see him pull out the forehand slice. He will hit some drop shots, follow them up with lobs. So he plays a quirky game where he sometimes is bunting the ball around, and other times he will let his forehand and his backhand rip. He has the ability to absolutely destroy the ball. So the fact that Fonseca was able to beat Brooksby on grass is a huge win, because this guy is very difficult to play. Fonseca won the first set comfortably, and after Brooksby won that tight second set, he started celebrating, and I thought this was going to be an absolute battle. And Fonseca showed that he's a clutch player. He is maturing before our eyes. He's still very young, but making the 3rd round at Roland Garros and now making the 3rd round at Wimbledon is a great result. And someone with that much firepower is of course going to be unbelievably dangerous on a quick surface like grass. So the potential is sky high. And as I said previously, the road to the quarterfinals is possible for Fonseca. So let's see what happens. But for all you Brazilian fans of Fonseca that are watching this video, let's take it one match at a time, because as I said in yesterday's video, all of these guys that are in the draw are unbelievably dangerous, and it appears that apart from maybe 3 guys on the ATP rankings, everyone can beat everyone. That's the tour nowadays. And now I'm going to transition to one of these guys that's fairly unknown to a lot of players, and that's Gabriel Diallo, a Canadian player who's very tall. He's 6'8", that's 2.03 meters, and he has a humongous serve. He was Fritz's opponent in today's match. Now, I usually don't talk about the commentary, but I do want to make a statement on John McEnroe's commentary on the BBC broadcast. I didn't watch the ESPN broadcast that featured Brad Gilbert. I was streaming the match, and I think it was the BBC feed with John McEnroe. And during this match, Diallo was serving absolute bombs, and Taylor Fritz was standing very close to the baseline. And Taylor Fritz lost the first set, and for about 2 hours, John McEnroe was talking about how Taylor Fritz should be backing up on his return, and it is not smart to stand where he's standing. And here's the thing. I 100% agree with John McEnroe, and this is actually something that I teach to my players. I want my players to have a fluid positioning on the return. I want them to back up if they feel like they can't react fast enough to the serve. Now, of course, fluid positioning means that you might back up on a first serve, and if somebody has a big discrepancy between a first serve and a second serve, you're going to move in on the second serve. Or there might be matches where you generally stand further back if you're feeling a general discomfort with your rhythm and your timing. Standing further back will generally make your life a little bit easier, and you'll have more time to execute your returns of serve. And on other days, you might be feeling really quick, and you're going to benefit from standing a little bit closer to the baseline. So fluid positioning on the return of serve can help a lot of players. But one thing that I stay away from in coaching is speak in absolutes. So I cannot make the statement that every single player should back up on the return, because some players have such good reflexes and such good hands that no matter what quality of serve they're receiving, they're going to be fine very close to the baseline. And one thing that's underappreciated about the Taylor Fritz game are his reflexes. And there is a reason why Taylor Fritz stands where he stands. And I listened to his interview after he beat Pericard. And Taylor said that he feels more comfortable closer, and one of his strengths is chipping fast serves back. He feels better chipping big serves when he's closer versus standing further back. And he generally likes more pace when he's returning serve. And it's for that reason that he stands closer to the baseline. Now, surely a player could be stubborn and make wrong decisions on the court, no doubt about it. But I always look at the results. And there is a reason why Fritz beat Zverev 5 times in a row. And Zverev is number 3 in the world on the ATP Tour serve stats. But it goes deeper than that. Fritz beat 2 guys that are taller than 2 meters, 2 huge servers, Pericard and Diallo, standing very close to the baseline. And I'm sure you saw the 153-mile-an-hour record-breaking serve from Pericard that Taylor Fritz chipped with his forehand and won the point. So while the comment from McEnroe is correct for a lot of players, it can't be correct for everyone. And we have to put trust in Taylor Fritz, because his returns are obviously elite level if he's able to beat all these tall guys and break their serves, get into tiebreaks with them, win tiebreaks, and take all these guys out. This is not an accident. Taylor knows what he's doing out there. Now, another thing that's underappreciated in the Fritz game is his consistency. And I had a thought today as I was watching him tough out Diallo in 5 sets again after beating Pericard in 5 sets. And that's that his game is somewhat similar to Andy Roddick. And I re-listened to that Davydenko interview that I featured a couple of days ago. one of the best interviews that I've ever listened to. And Davydenko was asked what his toughest opponents were. And interestingly, Davydenko said it wasn't the big four back in the day, but it was actually the American players who generally have huge serves and they go for a lot from the baseline. So they either hit a winner or make a mistake. Now, Davydenko did exclude Roddick from that list because Roddick, one of the greatest servers in tennis history, didn't mind rallying from the baseline, and he was extremely consistent from back there. And I think the same applies to Taylor Fritz. This guy barely misses any balls when he's in a rally. Both his forehand and his backhand are incredibly consistent, but it goes deeper than that. Taylor Fritz is also a fighter. At the tournament in Eastbourne, I was so surprised to see Taylor diving all over the place in the final against Brooksby when he had Wimbledon coming up. But Taylor didn't care. He's going to try his best to get to the balls, and he's going to put a tremendous amount of balls in play. And it is for that reason that I strongly believe that Taylor is going to be in the semifinals of Wimbledon. I'm going to finish this video off with Raducanu taking out Vondrousova. Maybe Raducanu's best match since winning the US Open. She played incredibly well. And I dedicated a video to Raducanu about a year ago, and I talked about some of the criticism that she's received. She's been called terrible things online, and people often like to put an asterisk behind her US Open victory, and it's just not fair. That tournament featured all the stars, Sabalenka, Swiatek. I'm talking about the 2021 US Open. And Raducanu made it from the qualies all the way to holding the trophy without dropping a set. In fact, the only set where she lost more than 4 games was in the second round of the qualies. So she pretty much destroyed everyone that came in her path. And I remember when I watched her win the US Open that she was an incredibly aggressive player, and I thought that she was going to be #1 in the world. However, what shortly followed after that was injuries, of course, that were tough to deal with, but also some mental struggles that are very common for young Grand Slam champions. And the interesting thing about the Raducanu game after winning the US Open was that the power that I saw was gone. In a lot of matches, I saw the opposite. Balls were going short and Raducanu seemed tight. So to me, it was clear that this problem wasn't technical because her technique didn't change, and her technique happens to be excellent on all her strokes. Raducanu is also an exceptional athlete, but Raducanu is fighting her way back to the top of the game. She finished 2023 ranked 298 in the world. She is now ranked 40 in the world, and after this tournament, if she ends up losing to Sabalenka, she will be at 39 and she will re-enter the top 40. So this is a huge accomplishment for Emma. And like I said, this win against Vondrousova, one of the best, if not the best matches that I've seen since the US Open. Now, interestingly, prior to the 2021 US Open, she did beat Vondrousova at Wimbledon, where Raducanu made the 4th round. But the 2 times they played after that, Vondrousova absolutely destroyed Raducanu in straight sets. So it's for that reason that I picked Vondrousova to win this one. So this is a huge surprise. I don't think that Raducanu will beat Sabalenka, but she could make the match complicated. And the way Emma got her game to this level is by simply winning a ton of matches. She won 17 of them this year. Now, she didn't take any titles. She was making the 4th round at some tournaments, the quarters at some others. Nothing too crazy, but nevertheless winning matches and building her confidence one step at a time.